Scott Mitchell, just a few weeks away now from the Lakeside World Championship 2023. You're a man that's been there many times and had the opportunity to lift that famous trophy. How will the players be feeling in the lead up to what is a very important moment in their darting careers?
Well, you get your 4 weeks in now, and everybody's going to be there, so everybody's going to be right on the height of their practice and the way that they do it, and they'll just be looking forward to it. I know that, a few weeks in advance, you used to get to December when it used to be in January, and you're really kicking in with the practice and looking forward to it so much. So I'm sure they are. The 9 or 10 times I did it, I was in awe of it every time I went back. So I would advise them to just try and keep the lid on it, forget where they are, try and play like you're playing in your back room and get that game out up on that stage.
When did the nerves first hit for yourself, when you walked into that venue, or was it when you were right up on that stage?
No, for me, the awe of it all was working in the venue when it was empty. You'd get there on the session that you were playing, and the players are allowed in obviously a little bit earlier, and you come through the crowds outside, and then you walk into the place, and you just look round it empty, and it's like, it's a darting mecca. And then for 2 hours later to see it absolutely rammed, and playing in front of those people, it's just a special place.
How does that change, if at all, from being a player and a champion walking into there to someone who's working in other roles, whether that be punditry, commentary or other things?
That I could fall off stage in there, stab myself on my own darts in my hand. I will never ever forget that moment of hitting that winning double, the elation, and I will always have a love for the place, an absolute love for the place. And once you've won there as a champion, you never go back there and get scarred. Even if you lose in the most horrible way, you never feel it anywhere near as bad after you've lifted that trophy.
Let's talk about Neil Duff, who's going to be going back there as a world champion, something that you've done before, of course. Is there a lot of pressure on Neil this time around?
I think it's down to you as an individual person. For me, I went back and enjoyed being the champion in the room. Because you have a thought. I mean, some players win it and then they think, well, I am the best in the world for this year. No. For me, it was always I was the best at the tournament that week. And we could have played exactly the same draw, exactly the same tournament a week later, and I wouldn't have won it. So I kind of looked at it like that a little bit, and that's how my year was. But going back in as the champion, and you take the trophy back, knowing that was when I sort of realised that I'd been champion for a year, when I went and gave it back. Not when I picked it up, is when I actually gave it back and it was almost gone. That's when you think, do you know what, I've got the last few days of this, I have to enjoy this. Otherwise, the whole year has been a waste of time if you finish the year you're sort of worrying and being nervous.
I think it's fair to say it's an open field this year. Just looking at the draw, you've got the likes of Leonard Gates, Thibaut Tricot, who are going to possibly meet early on. Neil's obviously going to go in there as one of the favourites. There's a lot of players that will be going into that tournament thinking they can lift that trophy. Oh,
there's a handful of players that I think could go in, and when we were asked for the draw of who we thought would be, a couple of runners, and to be honest, to narrow it down to 2 people was very, very difficult, because they've all played very well in certain parts of the year. It's who strings it together now at the right time in the right week. It's all about peaking at the right time.
How do you do that as a darts player? How do you peak at the right time? Because you've got to make sure everything's right going into this, because for lots of those players, and we spoke about it earlier, there's 30 debutants this year at the World Championship. It is going to be possibly one of the most strenuous and one of the biggest games of their career.
And the odds on that would say that a debutant should win it, with there being 30 in the field. So the odds are in their favour. And if I was a debutant, that is exactly what I'd be thinking. I'm thinking one of us has got to win it. So the odds are in their favour. I think peaking at the right time is always a difficult thing. I think when you're going in there that the year that I won it, my wife said to me, and we'd been 6 times before or 5 times before I won it, and I was putting the bag in the car at home on the Friday evening to go to stay at Lakeside to play on the Saturday. And she said, how do you feel your chances are? And I said, I'm going to tell you something now, my love. If I don't win it this year, I'll never win it. And that has to be the attitude that you go in with. And I'd never said that before, and I never said it again. I never felt that I had quite enough in me to be the one at the top of the week at the end of the week. So it's about confidence. You've got to be confident your game is in the right place under pressure against these top guys. And in 2015, I'd beaten most of those guys that were my rivals through the year in varying finals elsewhere in the ranking tournament. So I knew that you've got to have a confidence. You've got to peak with that confidence, knowing your game is in its very best place.
Can we push you for an early prediction for the men's tournament?
Well, I'm going to stick with the two predictions that I predicted. Andy Bartons, who I just love the way that he plays. It's totally the opposite to me. Fast and furious, and he's very confident about what he's doing. And I think it's his time. He's been around for a little longer now than people give credit for. And he's been learning on the floor tournaments and everything. And I think this would be a good time for him to shine. He's the number one seed, but I've not picked him for that. I've picked him because he's been around 4 or 5 years. He's done this before. And I think it's the timing now for the next couple of years for him is right to go and land one. An outsider who's obviously not seeded, I couldn't look any further than Leonard Gates, because Leonard has just lapped up every moment we've seen him on stage this year, from the World Seniors Darts Tour to the Modus Super Series. He's just lapped every part of being up on that big stage up. And that's very difficult to do, because there are some days where you don't really feel it. But Leonard doesn't seem to have those days. He seems to get up on there and say, this is what I was born to do. He's later in life. He's a little bit more relaxed about it all. And I think, he has a good chance as a non-seed.
I've got to talk to you a little bit about the ladies' tournament as well. I think Beau Greaves are going to go into that tournament a huge favourite, much as she did last year. Do you see it that way? And how is Beau going to have to approach this tournament? Any different to what we saw last time?
No, I see her as a favourite, but I think she knows that her B game is probably as good as most people's A game. And I think she has to go in with a bit of confidence. Knowing her like I do, and I've been with her for a week at a World Cup and found her an utterly lovely person to be around. Sometimes she doesn't believe in herself like you would think she would. She lets the game go and see how she goes. But she doesn't usually let things get her down, and that's her big advantage. So, yes, she's going to be the favourite. Are there girls that are going to push her? I believe so. And I actually said Rhiannon O'Sullivan, I think, could push her. We've seen Rhiannon have some good sort of women's series events. And I think, again, she's been around for a few years without being rude to her. She's not a newbie in the game anymore. And I think there's a certain amount of experience that needs to be had. You either have to do it as a debutant and you have no experience and you win it, a la Jelle Klaassen many years ago. Or you go in with a bit of experience, and each game you go into, you now start to know. She's been a former runner-up as well, Rhiannon O'Sullivan, to Trina. So she knows how to get there and she knows how to do it. And I just feel that maybe it could be her that pushes her.
I spoke to you over Zoom a couple of months ago, and I think at that time we were leading up to you being on the European tour in Hungary, which was a very exciting moment for yourself to be out there. You got a win up there. How was it?
Yeah, it was one of those. It was an amazing place to go and play darts. The Euro Tours I'd never experienced. One of those things on my bucket list to try and experience. And after I don't know how many attempts of trying, I finally got to one. I got a win against Andy Bolton, which was lovely. A last leg decider, which honestly, it was a dream leg. Other than hitting a 9 dart, I couldn't have had a better leg, really. So that was good. And then to play Chizzy the night after in front of 4,500 people. I got beat, but even an old guy like me can learn stuff. And I learnt a lot about myself that night. And, maybe I'll get to go back there one day.
Do you believe you're still very much progressing your game? There's still a lot more to learn, and there's more for you to achieve in this game.
I think so. I think with the World Seniors, for somebody like me, this is sort of opened up another gate for us. And I've gone being the new guy and the young one at the World Seniors Darts Tour. So, and I enjoy being around those people. Those people have been around and played the same as I have, and it's an enjoyable place to be. But don't get me wrong, it's not no jolly up between the old boys and the rivalries that you're renewing, and some that I've never. I was never around playing Robert Thornton a lot and Kevin Painter a lot, and so I'm now starting to get new rivalries and new things going with them. So, the World Seniors Tour is a good thing for me. But at the moment, I still feel I'm current. I'm with a new darts manufacturer, and that's taken a little time to. I'm never the best, fastest changer in the world, but I've got something now that I'm really happy with, and hopefully now we can get my head down, work hard on the practice board, and get myself where I need to be, and go back to Q School in January and try and see if I've still got it with the young kids.
Let's talk about that link up with Cosmo. I mean, does that give you a bit of a fresh impetus, I guess, with practice? You've got something a little bit more fresh in your darts career, and it gives you that umph in when you're on the practice board.
Yeah, I've always loved having a new bit of equipment. I think everybody knows that, you know, putting up a new board on a day or whatever gives you that little bit of oomph and an impetus to want to practice. Cosmo have been absolutely fabulous to me. You know, they've sort of picked me up from quite a low point where I'd sort of lost my tour card, didn't have a particularly good run at the World Seniors, and then, you know, they picked me up and said, look, don't worry, Scotty, we want you for you being you, the former world champion, and we're not going to put you under pressure to win tournaments or anything like that. We want you to try and help us develop a few products, and it has gone exactly that way. You know, Brian at Cosmo has been so good to me, and I'd like to repay him back. And things like the Europeans in Hungary and stuff with Euro tours, it's starting to repay them back for the faith that they've shown in me. What
is the perfect start to the year for you next year? You've mentioned Q School, and that's something that you're going to be attending and is on your list of things to do. Is back on the tour, is that what you want?
Yeah, I'd love to be back on the tour. I really would. And for me, the tour, for lots of people, the pro tours mean that, you know, yeah, you don't get to play in lots of other places. But for me, being a farmer like I am, the regular schedule of the pro tour suits me down to the ground. You know, it gets me the time off when I need to get a bit of time off, and there's certain times where they're not playing so much, which is in the summer, which is when the farmers are most busy. So when I had a tour card, you know, I really enjoyed it. So, you know, that's the priority, is to get that back. If I can't do that, then we go back to the Challenge Tour, and we try and get one that way. And I still feel I'm playing well enough. I'm still doing the averages. And, you know, if I don't do them, then it's easy to turn around and walk away. But I've also got, obviously, playing for my beloved Dorset, and we're now in that top league of the county championships with the UKDA. So at the moment, I've got my foot in lots of puddles at the moment, and trying to not fall in the deep end of them all. So the schedule's been really harsh. 2023, the schedule has been really busy. I think my wife told me yesterday, I think I've only been home 4 weekends since Easter. So it's kind of, you know, and I'm an old boy now. I've not got the energy that I had. So, you know, how long I can keep going at this pace for, I'm not sure. But while it's in my mind that I can do it, then we'll continue to try.
You mentioned the schedule there. The PDC released their calendar a few weeks back, and it was, I think, a surprise to some that the Pro Tours, all of them, will be in midweeks. Now, that's going to be a difficult thing to adapt to for a lot of players, especially those who have jobs such as yourself. If you are on the tour, is that something that's going to be difficult to get used to? Or
No, it'd be perfect for me. I think that that is something that I did prefer the ones during the week. I've got to be honest with you. Things are busier at home weekends 9 times out of 10, because my son works during the week as well. So if I'm kind of not there during the week and he's there not during the week, maybe we can get more done at weekends. So I think that for me, the way that it works, it wouldn't be a hindrance to me whatsoever. You know, I would really like to set amongst it. And, yeah, fingers crossed. Getting that tour card is not easy.
Good man. Cheers for your time, Scott.